there isn't a single part of your life that isn't affected by your mind, your emotions, or your relationships. It's the water that we're all swimming in. So any plan or vision that you have to get your life that doesn't take your mental health into account is incomplete. You're listening to the Life Edit Project podcast, where busy, ambitious high achievers get the tools they need to fight perfectionism and overwhelm so they can smash their goals without all the drama. I'm your host, recovering overachiever turned professional life coach, Elizabeth Burrows. Let's get to it. Good day, good people. Welcome back to episode 53 of the Life Edit Project podcast. I'm your host and your favorite life coach, Coach Elizabeth. And as always, I'm super glad you're here. There are, a lot of things you could give your time and attention to. And if you're willing to give me 25 to 30 minutes of listening time every week, or at least just this week, I am determined to make this show worthwhile for you. So today we are continuing our mental health mini-series that we've been doing for the entire month of May in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month. In the first installation, to refresh your memory, we talked about why complaining is bad for your mental health. That was episode 50. Then in the second part of the mini-series, we talked about how toxic positivity hurts your mental health. Last week in part 3, I actually shared a rebroadcast of a previous live stream where I discussed some of the unexpected ways that motherhood has impacted my personal mental health. And that episode was released just a couple of days after Mother's Day. And so I thought that was a timely conversation. Today, I am going to do something a little different, and I'm going to give you basically a roundup of practical tips that you can start using right away, no matter where you are on your mental health journey. But first, before we get to the meat and potatoes of this episode, I want to just give you a quick reminder. We are just 2 weeks out from our next Ask Me Anything episode. So if you have a question for me, if you want some outside perspective on a tricky situation in your own life, if maybe you are looking for some tips on how to make an important decision or deal with a complicated relationship in your life, holla at your girl. Send in your questions by June 1st, and I will respond right here on episode 55 of the podcast. It's free, it's as anonymous as you want to be, and nothing is ask limits. That's literally why I'm saying ask me anything. So the link to the submission form is in the show notes. Definitely check that out. All right, now that we've done the housekeeping, we can get back to the regularly scheduled programming and dive into this roundup. So I am going to share some simple things that you can incorporate into your daily life to improve and protect your own mental health. So grab your pen and your paper, bookmark this episode, do what you need to do because you definitely want to catch these gems that I'm about to drop. Are you ready? Let's go. So I've spent a lot of time in this mental health mini-series exploring just different aspects of our lives that can often have unexpected impacts on our mental health. But what I want to do first here is just back up for a few moments and talk about what mental health is and what I mean when I use the term, because I don't think I've done that yet. You know what that means? That means it's time for another Coach Elizabeth definition. So if you're taking notes, write this down. Mental health, very simply put, is the part of our well-being related to our minds, emotions, and relationships. I'll say it again. Mental health is the part of our well-being related to our minds, emotions, and relationships. Mental health is a component of overall health and wellness. It's not a separate thing. And it is a very real thing that deserves our real attention. And it's not completely separate from our physical health because our minds and bodies are connected. That means a change in your physical health can absolutely cause a similar change in your mental health and vice versa. So if your physical health is improving, you might notice your mental health improving. And if your mental health is declining, you might experience a decline in your physical health. You cannot separate the two. Now, when I talk about mental health, actually, when you hear really anyone in the wellness industry talk about mental health, it's important to remember that the subject of mental illness may be a part of the conversation, but it's never the whole conversation. Just like when we talk about our physical health, yes, we may talk about diseases and sickness, but health means so much more than that. But more than anything, I want to impress upon you how impossible it is to talk about improving the quality of your life without addressing your mental health. Because there isn't a single part of your life that isn't affected by your mind, your emotions, or your relationships. It's the water that we're all swimming in. So any plan or vision that you have to get your life that doesn't take your mental health into account is incomplete. I also want to just take this moment to say that mental health is complex, and there are a lot of different things that can impact our mental health. And while that might feel like a lot to think about from that lens, it doesn't have to be a problem. In fact, I'd argue that because everything we do has the potential to impact our mental health, it means that in every moment and in every situation, we have the power to take some kind of action to protect or improve the state of our mental health. And I very much like the idea of having power in every situation. How about you? So I wanted to just offer up all of that as a backdrop for these tips that I'm about to share with you, because I need you to know that there are a lot of small, simple things that you can do to either feel better or to avoid feeling worse when it comes to your mental health. Some of the tips that I'm going to share with you today have to do with supporting a better functioning mind, while others are about handling emotions or feeling better in or about your relationships with others. Also, I have kept these tips intentionally basic. Like so basic, you might even wonder why I am putting some of them on this list. But the basics are the basics for a reason. They create a solid foundation that you can stand firm on and ultimately build upon. So do not miss out on this opportunity to get something meaningful from these techniques and these tips just because you think they are too basic. Okay, so here are a few simple things that you can do to support your mental health. Number one, take more deep breaths. And I'm starting with deep breathing as the first tip because it's very simple and easy to do, but it's also very easy to overlook. And even though we all walk around breathing all day, every day, many of us are moving through most of our days taking very shallow breaths. And if you're stressed or if your body is dysregulated, your breathing is also disrupted. And so taking a slow, deep, intentional breath is a simple thing that you can do whenever you need, wherever you are. And what can deep breaths do for you? So they can help activate your parasympathetic nervous system. That's a very fancy term, I know. But basically, your parasympathetic nervous system activating brings your body back into regulation. Basically, you remind your body that you are safe. And this is why taking a deep breath when you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed or scared helps you feel better, because you're helping your body to regulate all of its physiological reactions. So if your blood pressure is going crazy, if your heart rate is out of control, if the stress hormones are just on 10, all of that, you can turn the dial down on those things and by taking a deep breath, and therefore you can reduce your anxiety and stress levels and ultimately feel more relaxed. And this is good because when your body is dysregulated and you're stressed or in a state of fight or flight, you do not think as clearly. You do not make as many good decisions. So it can be very helpful to practice taking just a few deep breaths whenever you feel uncomfortable, whenever you're noticing tension in your body, or whenever you know you're in or going into a situation that is going to be stressful. That might be when you're having a tough conversation with someone or working on a difficult task, or maybe when you're feeling frustrated with your kids or with the crazy drivers in traffic, right? Any time is a good time to take a deep breath, and only good things can happen when you do. So that's the first tip. The second tip is journaling. Now, I have definitely professed my love for journaling on more than one occasion on this podcast, including earlier during this mental health miniseries. But I literally cannot do a roundup of habits to support your mental health and not mention it yet again, because journaling is also just one of those simple, highly accessible, super flexible, and customizable things that literally anyone can do, including you. There are a lot of ways to journal, and there is no wrong way to do it. And whatever journaling method you decide to do or to try, it's going to be helpful, right? Like, just do it. But if you want to journal specifically to improve your mental health, I do suggest that you figure out in advance what problem or challenge you're trying to solve and let that drive the type of journaling that you do. For example, if you're looking to de-stress more or to process your feelings, then you want to try a brain dump, or maybe just practice writing through and describing your stressful experience in detail. If you're feeling a little down or depressed, you might want to try gratitude journaling. If you want to feel less chaotic in your mind, or if you want to improve your focus and productivity, maybe you take a stab at bullet journaling. And if none of these methods mean anything to you, it's fine. All you need to remember is this: writing down your thoughts onto paper is always helpful. Do it on purpose and do it as often as you can remember to do it, as often as you can stand it. Pay attention to what feels good and just do more of that. The third tip that I'm going to offer you is to put those devices on do not disturb mode. Okay, so this one has been a game changer in particular for me, and I know my husband is also a big fan of this. And everyone should really be doing this. Seriously, I don't tell you a lot of things that you should do. I offer things as suggestions and allow you to decide, but I can't think of anyone that would not benefit from this. So here's the thing. We live in a super connected, highly stimulated society, and we are not designed to be always on, always available, or always responsive to everything that's happening around us. And yes, our devices are great tools for productivity and even social connection, which can be an important part of our mental health support system, right? Like, my phone is part of how I stay connected to friends and family. That's a good thing. But we can't afford to forget that the people who design these devices and the apps that we use, they are designing them not just to be helpful, but to keep us engaged, because that is how they make their money. And sometimes it's just too much. So I encourage you to put your devices on a do not disturb mode, at the very least during the hours where you're in bed and trying to sleep, so that you don't have to do anything extra special to guard yourself against the constant pinging of message notifications, after hours work emails, news alerts, or disrespectfully late phone calls that can totally wait until tomorrow, right? Like, if you are not on call for a very important 24-hour job, it can totally wait. And also the pressure of having to live up to the manufactured urgency around all kinds of things like news and text messages and social media, it can really take a toll on your mental health. So activating that do not disturb mode creates a bubble of protected time so that you actually have time to calm down, wind down, and just chill out. And chilling out is always good for your mental health. The fourth tip that I'm going to recommend to you is planning your meals in advance. And I know this doesn't sound like a mental health tip, but it totally is. So, meal prep can have a huge ROI on your mental health because it reduces the number of decisions that you have to make in real time, thereby reducing decision fatigue. And decision fatigue is very much a real thing. Secondly, when you meal prep, you are more likely to make healthier food choices, and a healthier, more balanced diet can actually help you feel better. And so even if you're just feeding your gut more vegetables at every meal because you meal prep that way, and your body feels better, it is going to have a positive impact on your mental health as well. Again, because your physical health and mental health are connected and one impacts the other. Also, once you get past the temper tantrum that your brain is totally going to throw because you're telling it what it has to eat in advance and it doesn't like being told what to do, you will eventually be able to relax into the comfort of just allowing your meals and meal time to be easy. When you meal prep, you don't have to struggle or grapple with choices or calculate whether or not you have enough time to eat what you want to eat as opposed to what you need to eat in that moment, because the decision has already been made. The things have been prepped. You have calculated it in advance, and all you have to do is execute and follow the plan. And you can know that you will end up eating something that you actually like, because no one meal preps for a bunch of food that they hate, right? So if you meal prep and then eat the food that you have prepped, you will eventually figure out that you like the food if you just follow the plan, and it's all good. So I highly recommend that. The fifth tip that I'm going to offer you is having a creative hobby or outlet. So hobbies are great. Creative hobbies in particular are even better for your mental health because they help improve personal expression. And the better and more practiced you are at expressing what is on the inside of you, the healthier you will feel, the easier it becomes to process your feelings, and also the smoother your social interactions can be, right? So anything that improves your creativity is going to be positive for your mental health. Also, if you are creating something, there is a dopamine hit that you will totally get when you reach the milestone of having created something with your own hands or from your own mind that did not previously exist. There is nothing like it, even if the thing that you have created sucks and isn't very good, or even if the process of creating the thing was either super easy or really, really hard and grueling. There is a level of satisfaction that makes you feel good. So creative hobbies and outlets are hitting on multiple aspects of your mental health. Feelings, supporting your healthy mind, and they also lend themselves to better social relationships because you can connect with people who have similar creative interests by doing creative activities together. It can be a great way to find friends, right? So for example, if you like reading, you can join a book club. And if you are missing social interaction, you can actually use your interest as a way to find people who are interested in that activity and create friendships and maybe really deep, close relationships. Another way that having a creative hobby or outlet can support your mental health or actually support your social relationships is not in so much drawing you closer to other people, but in helping you to improve your independence from other people. So if you are, let's say, very, very focused on your relationship with your kids or your relationship with your spouse, you might either get sick of them over time, or you might feel like there is something missing. Pursuing and developing a creative hobby outside of your primary social relationships can help you just get in better touch with yourself without orienting yourself towards what other people want and feel. And that can in turn help you return to those primary relationships with more to offer and feeling rejuvenated and just feeling better. And again, that's always good and helpful for your mental health. The sixth tip that I'm going to offer you today is to spend more time outside. Again, do not sleep on this tip just because it's simple. There are so many benefits to spending time outside and in nature. And outside is everywhere, so it can be easy to incorporate more of this one into your life no matter where you are. Now, spending more time outside can mean anything from starting small, like just stepping outside for fresh air more often throughout the day. Or you can do something really big and complicated, like plan outdoor activities like hiking or swimming or gardening. Or you can do something in between, something more moderate like taking more leisurely walks, or something as simple as parking a block or two away from the coffee shop that you're visiting so that you have more time outside while you're doing something that you're already planning to do. I'd also just like to offer here that it's not just the outside and the fresh air that can have really positive impacts on your mental health. Looking at trees and greenery can also be helpful and have a positive impact on your mood and your mental health. So if you find yourself unable to step outside for fresh air, maybe you just practice standing by the window and looking outside, okay? And that is going to be helpful. The seventh tip that I'm going to offer you today is to get good sleep. So we already know that sleep is important and getting enough rest is absolutely vital to your physical health. But it's also really important for your mental health. In fact, scientists, the very fancy scientists who study our brains, have found that the reason sleep is so restorative is because our brains generate a waste byproduct from doing all the thinking and controlling of our bodily functions as we move throughout our days. And the system that flushes that waste out of our brain activates when we're asleep. And that flushing out system also shuts almost completely off when we wake up. So if you don't get enough sleep, you are going to essentially let the waste build up in your brain. It's like continuing to use the bathroom even though the toilet is clogged up. And I know that might be a bit of a gross analogy, but that's also the point. Sleep is not a luxury, it is a necessity. And trying to live in a sleep-deprived brain, it's literally an inhumane condition. My friend, you deserve better. Now, I will be the first to admit that I don't always get a lot of sleep, but the sleep that I do get is always bomb.com because I have developed really good sleep hygiene. And I did this out of necessity because many, many years ago, I had a terrible case of insomnia. And so I ended up creating a really elaborate wind down routine to signal to my brain that it was time to shut down and go to sleep. And even though I no longer struggle with insomnia, I have really stuck to this elaborate bedtime ritual and wind down routine because my brain can be still so very active at night. And so my wind down routine is part of my sleep hygiene that helps me settle down so much that when my head hits the pillow, I go out like a light and I fall into a deep, uninterrupted, high quality sleep for however long it is that I'm in bed that night. And so even if you find yourself getting 8 hours in the bed, if you are not getting 8 hours of quality sleep, one of the things that I encourage you to do is to look for ways not just to add more hours onto your sleep schedule, but to improve the quality of the sleep that you're getting so that the time you spend snoozing and snoring is actually beneficial to you. So that's my list of 7 simple and easy things that you can incorporate into your daily life to support and improve your own mental health. Because it doesn't matter how good your mental health is now. Everyone experiences a decline in mental health. Everyone experiences challenges. When life starts lifing, our mental health gets impacted. Whether you are experiencing something personally or you are witnessing something tough that someone else that's close to you is experiencing, there is so much going on that can impact our mental health. And so I want you to have not just big, complicated tools in your toolkit, but also simple things, everyday things that you can reach for on a moment's notice. So I hope this list was helpful to you. If you get to a point where these little, simple, everyday things are not enough to support your mental health, I do hope that you will reach out to a mental health professional that can support you on your journey. I am not a mental health counselor, so if what you need is therapy, I am not the one for you. But as a life coach, I can absolutely be a part of the system that supports you having good, solid mental health. So if you are interested in working with me, I would love to spend some time chatting with you about how my one-on-one coaching services can help you improve your mental health. Just visit the link that is in the show notes to book a sales call with me, and we can hop on a Zoom call and talk about all the ways that we can work together and what your life can look like on the other side. All right. Thanks for tuning in. We've got one more episode in this mental health mini-series, and then we will get back to some wider conversations. In the meantime, do what you got to do to support your mental health, because mental health is a part of your overall health. All right? Peace. Hey, thanks for tuning into this week's episode. If you have a question or a favorite insight from today's conversation, I would love to hear from you. Send me a message on social media. I'm in all the places. My handle is @LifeEditProject, all one word. And of course, my accounts are linked up in the show notes to make it easy for you, so holla at your girl. I'll be back in your ears next week with a fresh episode. Make sure that you are subscribed to the Life Edit Project podcast wherever you like to listen so that you don't miss a thing. Until then, peace.